1 month ago, the Kindle Scribe ColorSoft was the newest thing on my desk. And since then, SuperNote has shipped updates. Viwoods has shipped updates. And suddenly the question isn't just, is the Kindle Scribe ColorSoft good? It's whether or not this still holds the same place it did when it launched. And more importantly, is it worth the price Amazon is asking? Within days of the release of the Kindle Scribe ColorSoft, both SuperNote and Viwoods released updates to their devices. They added capabilities, they were responding to user requests, and realistically, they were pushing their products forward. So before we look at what life over the last month with the Scribe ColorSoft has been like, let's see what these other companies are doing. Thanks for coming by, and thanks for watching. If you have a chance, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and maybe leave some comments so that we can have a discussion about what's going on in this space. It's a really interesting one, and I appreciate you being here. So first, let's look at SuperNote. What have they been doing in the last month or so? Well, with their December update, they added a few much requested features. First of all, they added the ability for the calendar to switch between landscape and portrait mode. Previously, it was only usable in portrait. The SuperNote has an accelerometer and you can rotate it and it's going to recognize that. And it was really nice that they added the ability to flip that calendar mode. And you can use this both at a month at a time or even at a week. I think that it's a really nice way to visualize things, and it's something that users have been asking for. Another big thing that users have been asking for is the ability for your sleep screen to actually be your last viewed note. Now, while this could be a privacy concern in some situations, for those of us who, for example, I only use my SuperNote Manta here at home, that could be a nice thing to have there on the desk and be able to easily refer back to. Both of these are big user requests, and it's great to see SuperNote responding to those requests in a fairly timely fashion. Another big recent thing that SuperNote released was the ability for people to set up a private cloud syncing service. You can use their built-in cloud sync, you can use Google Drive, OneDrive, you can use Dropbox. But some people want to be able to have the security and the privacy of knowing that everything is synced on their own system. And while the learning curve to do so is steep, for those who really value that privacy and control, this has been a very welcome addition. But what about future plans? One of the things that I've really appreciated about the company behind SuperNote over the last year or so since I've been using their device is their public Trello board. They have a public Trello board with a number of suggestions, letting you see what's been suggested and what's working on. Their blog also really takes time to highlight some of these upcoming features. In particular, there's a few things that they've announced as coming this year. They want to make sure that notes respond quicker, that they sync faster, and that the overall performance of the note experience is better. They're also looking at improving the sync between SuperNote devices. That's going to be a welcome change and a welcome upgrade. I do have issues occasionally where I'll get an extra file that simply has sync conflict in the title because things don't play perfectly between both the Manta and the Nomad. SuperNote states that about 10% of their users have multiple devices, and focusing on making that experience better, more reliable, and more quick is really something that's going to be a welcome addition for those of us who do have multiple devices. They've also announced an upcoming plugin system. We don't really have a lot of details, and so I don't know exactly what that's going to entail. Though last year when they rolled out the sticker feature, they stated that this was kind of presaging what's going to be coming down the road with the plugins. They want to make their software more extensible and it sounds like more customizable for the individual user. In fact, this really is one of the main focuses of the company that they've been openly discussing, and that is improving the experience for those who already use their devices. This is fantastic news. For those of us who are already in their system, it makes everything better. But also knowing that there's that commitment is going to make it a lot easier for people to want to come and get those devices and join that community. Now, what about Viwoods? They also released an update in December, and their idea with this really seemed to be looking at let's make this more of a productivity tool. One of the things they introduced was a to-do feature. Now, previously, they had a task system that was in place. And if you went to the calendar, kind of daily note sort of section, there was a place for you to take notes and write down tasks. You could check them off, and those would sync to the home screen in a task list section. However, now what you can do is you can take any sentence that you write anywhere, lasso it, and then tell it to convert it to a to-do. It's not only going to create a to-do, but it's going to take that handwritten and it's going to recognize the text and turn it into a typed to-do list. This then shows up in that to-do section of that sort of daily page and also syncs to the to-do widget on the home screen. It's got a radio button that when you tap that now, instead of just simply putting a check mark, it's going to respond just like we're kind of used to with most task managers. They've added in some more customization options of the home screen as well, and I think one of the big things for a device that's called the AI Paper, they've added Gemini 3 Pro as a new available model. One of my big concerns when I first got the device was that it was already using kind of out-of-date models. This is an AI paper tablet, and if the AI models are out of date, it kind of seems to be a little less useful. They've also expanded the AI processing of the summarization in pages, and it can take up to 5 handwritten pages at a time and do some AI processing on that. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't really find this useful. For example, why do I want an AI to summarize my handwritten notes? At least as I think of it, and one of the whole points of taking handwritten notes is that you are summarizing as you go, that you're kind of already doing that processing. But that's just how I approach these things. So what does Viwoods have coming on the horizon? Well, they've been fairly active in the community, particularly on Reddit, and they've let people know what's coming. The biggest thing that they've announced is that cross-device syncing is on the way. This is huge because while I was impressed with the hardware and I liked the experience of using these devices, the fact that the AI Paper and the AI Paper Mini didn't talk to each other and there was no synchronization between these was one of the reasons that I stopped using these in the first place. However, they've said that they expect in April of 2026, they're going to have this and it's going to be there and available. So honestly, I'm holding on to these devices so that I can test that out and see what it's like. I love the sync between the SuperNote Manta and the SuperNote Nomad and the ability to use both of them. I look forward to upcoming potential improvements in that, but that's been one of the places where the Viwoods devices let me down. One of the most impressive things, though, that really sets SuperNote and Viwoods apart from, let's be honest, Amazon, is how active they are with their respective communities. There are official representatives from each community that are on the subreddits. They're there. They're answering whether tech support questions, user questions, or they're giving announcements. That's pretty great because it's a far cry from the opaque sort of black box way that Amazon and the Kindle team operate. We have promises from Amazon that the 2025 Scribe features are going to trickle down to previous models, but other than that, we don't have any real idea what to expect, when, or what else might be coming. This is a huge area where Amazon is dramatically behind its competitors. So let's talk about the Kindle Scribe ColorSoft. In the month that I've had it, I've been using it daily. I do think that this is the best reading experience. In another video that I made, there was some criticism that I panned unremarkable for their reading experience. Now look, if you're spending $400, $500, $600+ for one of these devices, I don't think it's asking too much to expect that you can use it to read EPUB files or PDFs or your own things if you load them on there. Given that, I think that when we think about these devices, reading needs to be part of the mix. And when it comes to that, the Kindle Scribe can't be beat. The darker screen between the Scribe ColorSoft and the 2024 Scribe really hasn't been noticeable unless I put the two side by side. In that situation, yes, the 2024 black and white is brighter. I would expect that the 2025 black and white will be brighter as well. However, once I'm sitting down and I'm using the device, I don't even notice that, and I haven't touched that 2024 Scribe since I really got the 2025. I find the new Kindle Scribe a lot more comfortable to hold. It's narrower, a little bit taller, it's thinner, and it's actually lighter. All of these things add up to make it something that's more comfortable to hold and something that I just enjoy using a little bit more because it feels more ergonomic. Some of these are small differences, but once you add up all of these little differences, it becomes, for me, honestly, quite a noticeable change between the two devices. So what about the color? I do believe that the color has been additive. I like being able to have color highlights when I'm reading. I like being able to have the color covers and see more of what are the images. Also, being able to change the color of ink, whether in notebooks or when I'm taking some notes in books, is actually really nice. Given the color, I would actually say that the Scribe ColorSoft is a viable option for color comics. Still, it's not going to be your best, and those colors are going to be a little bit washed out, but I think that it's far more viable than I would have previously suspected. What about battery life? I think the battery life is great. Again, using it daily, mostly to read, but also testing out some of the notebook features. I've charged it once in the time that I've had it, and I'm sitting still at about a 50% charge right now. So what about the writing experience? What about using this as an e-ink notebook? Well, this is where things really start to get complicated and, in my opinion, kind of start to fall apart for the Kindle Scribe. The writing feels pretty good. It's responsive. I find the texture pleasant. It's almost like a small tip felt marker on paper. It kind of has that feel to it. It's a little different than some of the other devices, but it isn't unpleasant. The colors do add to the notes and to the handwriting, but there are so many limitations. Accessing your notebook somewhere else is difficult. The truth is, you can go into the Kindle app and find a notebook section, but sometimes that's not reliably been updated, and I had to manually go back out and tell it to sync before I would see recent notes and notebooks. At the same time, while you can view them on whatever device you're looking at the Kindle app on, that's all you can do with it. I haven't been able to find a reliable way to really see it on a PC without jumping through hoops and using OneNote and exporting and things that I don't think are worth it, and really, again, put it behind other companies that are doing the same thing. Given that you can't really easily export the notes, you're kind of committed to having the Scribe with you at all times if you want to have access to those notes. The templates that the device comes with, I don't think are great. One of the biggest, most distracting things is that the lines, and in particular the dots, are extremely heavy. I'm a dot grid person. That's my favorite type of template. And the dot grid on the Scribe, unusable. The dots are big. They are heavy. They are gray. They get just in the way, and they're very distracting. And the inability to add your own templates really limits how much I find those useful. So far, when I do use the notebook settings, it's straight up just a blank page because it's the only one that I don't find distracting and bothersome. So, what about the Kindle Scribe ColorSoft? As a big Kindle, I love it. I really like it. The physical form of the device feels good to hold. It's enjoyable to sit there in a comfortable chair and read. At the same time, its size does limit its portability and its usefulness in other scenarios. I think that this would be a difficult thing to recommend as someone's only Kindle. And the price they're asking for it, that's kind of a big ask. For myself, I have a Kindle Paperwhite. That's what I'm going to throw in a bag and take with me if I'm traveling and I know I just want to read. If I expect that I'm going to be reading something where I want to be able to highlight and take notes, sure, then the Scribe comes with me. But other than that, that size is a little bit of a hindrance in terms of portability. But as an e-ink tablet, the Kindle Scribe, both ColorSoft and black and white, they just cannot compare at all. The template options are too limited. Using the notes after you've made them is just difficult unless you have the device on you. In this way, it just feels so far behind the competition that the notebook part of the Scribe devices feels like it was an afterthought. As I mentioned, the other companies are moving faster. They're much more interactive with the community. They actually let people know kind of what's going on. This is a difference that can't be overstated. While Amazon's biggest strength is its size and its ubiquity, its biggest weakness, its size and its ubiquity. I don't get any sense that Amazon is aware of all the many ways in which they're behind the competition. This wouldn't be that much of an issue if this wasn't a device that cost well over $600, almost $700 if you choose to get the 64 gigabyte version. Don't get me wrong, I really like the Kindle Scribe ColorSoft as an e-reader. I'm glad I have it, but I'm fortunate that this can be a device, not my only device. At this price, it's really hard for me to know if I could recommend it, and if so, to whom. There are much less expensive devices that are competent to great e-readers that are going to be more portable and maybe even have better battery life. If you're looking as an e-ink tablet, you're better off with, well, literally any other company. SuperNote, Viwoods, remarkable books, even with its messy implementation of Android, are actually all better as e-ink tablets. With any of those devices, you're going to get a more robust experience. You're going to get faster updates and, honestly, more features than Amazon is giving you when it comes to the e-ink tablet portion of this. The final verdict is, with the Kindle Scribe ColorSoft and the Kindle Scribe line in general, it's complicated. I love using the device. There's a reason I've had more than one. As an e-reader, I think it's great for the right person. But for someone who just wants to be able to read books and have a bunch of books with them on the go, this isn't the device. If someone wants a good e-ink tablet, this isn't the device either. What we've got is a great e-reader at a very specific size and an extremely subpar e-ink tablet. There are other devices out there that are going to do as much, or in some cases more, than the Kindle Scribe, and they're going to do so cheaper. I'm a huge e-ink fan. I think it's a great technology, but when you start to look at the price of something like the Scribe and compare it to the price of the entry-level iPad, it's really starting to get a little dicey to say whether or not somebody should spend twice as much to get something that doesn't do that much and does one thing, read ebooks, really, really well. Other than that, it's tough. Again, I love it. I'm glad I have it, but boy, if you're going to recommend this, the person better know really what they're getting into, because Amazon's falling short in a lot of ways.